provide hiring and retention bonuses as well. So those are the things that we had on the table. Those are the things that now we have a proposal for. And I'm glad that everybody's moving in the same direction on this. And I believe that for our drivers and for our potential drivers, that this is light at the end of the tunnel. And they have my commitment that I will continue to push to get this funding to them so that they can get paid a livable wage. Many of them get about $25,000 in a year. And we have to make these jobs more appealing to potential applicants if we want to provide this service to our kids. So that's very good news for the county, I believe. Also want to just note that I don't know if many of you picked this up, but that on Friday we got word that FEMA denied the state of Maryland's request that a major disaster declaration be made based on the tropical storm Ida tornado in our case and other flooding elsewhere from September 1st. I wrote a letter yesterday to Governor Hogan requesting that the state of Maryland declare an emergency based on this incident. The reason I did that is that we need to be able to activate all of the state resources that we can, both for the businesses and for the residents who had damage as a result of this tornado. And the denial letter coming from FEMA actually said that they did not believe that the storm was of such severity and magnitude as to be beyond the capabilities of the state and affected local governments. So we believe that it's essential that the state government activate all of its capabilities. And one of those is to declare under Title 14, subsection 3, section 14303, a state of emergency. And what that does is two things for our folks. One is that it can activate the VOLT loan program into a grant program. There was legislation just in 2021 passed that created the authority for those loans to be used as grants. And our Department of Economic Development has been making a case that we need to do that, particularly on West Street in Annapolis. And but it can only be done if there's a federal or state declaration of emergency under HB 853, the bill that passed this year. So I know that Senator Elfreth has been advocating that the state do this, and our Office of Emergency Management has as well. So we're calling on the governor to do that. The other program that this would activate is through Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development. They have two programs that would allow underinsured and uninsured homeowners to get assistance with rebuilding their homes, also to provide money for temporary housing for folks who've been pushed out of their homes. We sent a letter on Tuesday, September 21st, with Cecil County and the city of Annapolis making this request. Have not heard back. We believe that by declaring the state of emergency, that the governor can activate those funds as well. So that's our request. We have Mayor Buckley here with us as well. I believe he's doing a letter to the governor as well, and he's going to speak about this. But before we pass it on to the mayor, I also want to give another piece of good news, which is that Anne Arundel County, and there's a portion of this going to the city of Annapolis, is getting 2 grant awards that total almost $20 million. That is based on our success in our water reclamation facilities and removing nitrogen and phosphorus from the outputs there. And there's a formula that they use for these grants based on how successful we are. And so the fantastic work of our Department of Public Works at our facilities is the reason why we are going to be benefiting from this $20 million, close to $20 million. And the money will be put back into the system, of course, and used to continue the work that we do. It stabilizes rates. Costs go up regularly at these facilities. And so this is good news for the taxpayers and the ratepayers for both Annapolis and the city and the county. So I'm going to pass it on to the mayor, and hear his thoughts about these issues as well.
How are we doing? Well, thank you for letting me be here today. I want to reiterate, the strength of the partnership we have with County Executive and Anne Arundel County. We want to be an environmental leader, not only in the state, but also in the country. The award that we've just talked about is a great example of that. This is what happens when you work together and you work on upgrading your infrastructure. Investment in infrastructure gets you results like this. It gets you rewarded for good work. So this is going to amount to something like $637,000 per year return for the county that we can reinvest to improve the water quality of the Chesapeake Bay. The Chesapeake Bay is obviously the greatest asset for our county and our city, one of the greatest assets we have. And as stewards of the environment, we have to make sure that we leave this place a little bit better than we found it. That's why we run for office. These are the things that are exciting about being in office, that we can make things like this happen and improve the quality of not only our environment, but also, the quality of life that we all have in this city. And the quality of life in this city was drastically impacted by this tornado touchdown. And I want to move on to that and say and urge the governor to declare that state of emergency so we can be given the tools to activate things like the VOLT program so that we can get to help the citizens that really need it. I mean, we believe we've seen a lot of stuff in the last 4 years. We never thought we'd see a tornado touchdown in one of our main economic corridors in the city and one of our oldest and proudest neighborhoods. So we have very visible damage. Anyone that drives through West Street, it is very apparent that some of the most beloved businesses in this city are now on their knees. They are looking for help. It is a simple ask, and we believe that we can get to work once the governor gives us that ability. We not only need to help those businesses, but drive back in those neighborhoods. Look at how many buildings are tarped up. Some of these houses in these old neighborhoods are families that have been there for generations. Some of those houses are underinsured. They're asking for us to find solutions to give them help. You all saw the pictures in the Capitol. The governor, the county executive, and I, and the alderwoman for that ward, we were on the ground as soon as that emergency happened. We promised that community that we wouldn't abandon them, that we would be there for them. And this is the next step. We can't just talk about this sort of stuff. We actually have to deliver for these communities. These are tax-paying residents of the state of Maryland. Give them the chance to get back on their feet. Let's finish the work we started. And so I'm urging that we get that state of emergency declaration happening as soon as possible. Thank you all.
We also have our Director of Public Works, Chris Phipps, who could give us some more information about the grant award. I do want to note that we have been in touch with the governor's office, and while they are discussing whether to appeal the decision by the feds, we still believe that the declaration in the state could be made regardless of what the feds do. So, but we'll continue working with them and also our friends in Cecil County. So, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. County Executive and Mr. Mayor. I'm Chris Phipps, Director of Public Works for Anne Arundel County, and I did want to provide maybe just a little more context on these grants that were being presented today. They're really part of our clean water goals. It's this, operating our plants at optimal performance is really one of our 5-point strategy for meeting the 2025 Bay Pollution Diet, or what we call the TMDL, and sustaining that, in perpetuity. It's all part of that plan. And what we were able to do, and it's through the dedication, commitment, and hard work of our plant operators and our engineers, to run these facilities at optimal performance, well below the permitted required standard, which we're performing at more than half the allowable nitrogen phosphorus that we could otherwise release. And since we're running these surplus nitrogen phosphorus credits, there's no better way than returning on that investment than receiving funding for it. And that's what we competed through the Clean Water Commerce Act, which is a $10 million grant program a year, competitive grant program. And over the last 2 years, we've received $17.6 million of that $20 million. So very competitive process. We're successful in achieving that. And then in addition, another 1.8 million, which goes toward the operating and maintenance program, which MDE also runs a grant program through the Bay Restoration Fund that allows us to tap into that revenue if you're performing below what they call 3 milligrams per liter, which is essentially limits of technology. So we're below that. And so we're receiving the operating grants as well. So altogether, this is just one part of our clean water goal and 5-point strategy for meeting the Bay TMDL. And we're committed to doing that and returning on the investment, which is reinvesting back into this infrastructure. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chris. And with that, we will move over to questions. First up, Lowell Melser, WBAL.
Good morning, County Executive. Just a couple of questions about the bus plan that was approved. It's kind of a twofold question. I guess my first part is, do you know when we could see this fully approved? I know it needs the city council's consent or county council's consent, but you also have the ability to put this in motion faster, if I'm not mistaken. Or I guess I'm looking for a timeline here. And do you have any concerns about this being stalled at all by the county council?
I suspect that the council members that I've talked to recognize that we need to do something to get these buses operating, and that requires incentivizing the work to get more people hired. So I haven't talked to them all, but I know some are very supportive and want to move this as quickly as possible. They do, the bill will be introduced, and then there will be a month before it's heard, and then it will be hopefully approved, or some version of it approved. It may be changed, it may be amended by the time they approve it. Supplemental requests are not always, fully, or budget requests are not always fully funded, and then it goes back to the school board, and then they have to negotiate, make the changes in their contracts. The hiring and retention bonuses could happen sooner than that. The way we do our American Rescue Plan funds is that the request comes from a department. So it's looking like I originally had talked to our economic development team about identifying businesses, sectors that were having trouble adjusting to the new labor market and helping them. School bus companies are the first and the one where it's the most urgent for our communities right now. And so they had taken this to workforce development, and there's some reasons why it might be better to run it through workforce development. So we're waiting on a proposal that should come soon for use of our American Rescue Plan funds. We have a committee that it goes through. It does not have to be approved by the council. If it's above $500,000, we do send a letter to the council notifying them of what we're doing. So that could happen sooner, but we have to get the proposal in. It's all moved very, very, very quickly. I think it was just, near the end of the week that the superintendent put out a release with what he thought was the right numbers and the right way to proceed. And just last night that the school board approved it.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, and then I'm done. So the signing bonus thing could happen, say, within a month or two, but it sounds to me like if the school board needs the council actually won't hear this for another month, and then it has to go to the school board. It sounds like this raise issue probably wouldn't be approved until sometime next year. Does that sound pretty accurate there?
It's possible that it could be done before that, but it's a little longer timeline than the rescue plan money.
Okay.
But I think you have that right.
Thank you.
Next up, Amy Simpson, Fox 45.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. Following up on Lowell's questions about the action towards a pay raise for bus drivers. We know that this bus driver shortage is much more than just an Anne Arundel County issue. I'm curious for the county executive's thoughts on how the last week of developments in Anne Arundel County is impacting the situation statewide, because we are already seeing some drivers strike just south of you all in Calvert County.
I think that, I've been reading about increases around the country. I think I read about a rural jurisdiction that was going to well over $30 an hour. Ours are at about 20 right now, but part of the issue is that they don't get as many hours as most folks, and their hours are split in the middle of the day. So it's hard to accumulate the hours to make the overall annual salary, annual money. But I think you're going to see this happening all over the place, and it's quicker for private businesses to adjust their pay and their contracts than it is for government. We move more slowly. The bureaucracy, we have a lot of rules and a lot of community public engagement requirements and transparency requirements that are great, but it means that we're slower. And so I think you're gonna see this happening elsewhere, and it's going to be difficult. It's going to be painful. It's always painful when you have to go to the taxpayers, go to the budget team, and ask them to consider a significant bump like this. And it's going to be happening in other parts of the economy as well. I mean, low wage workers particularly are seeing increases that have been that are long time coming. And, the wealth disparities in this country have grown and grown and grown. And I don't think anybody disagrees that it's time for folks at the bottom end of the wage scale to start benefiting from, this country's economic growth. But any economic change is difficult. So you'll see it everywhere, I think.
And one follow-up to that as well. I'm not sure how often you all speak as a group, but my understanding is that all the county executives in Maryland do have a, however often, weekly, biweekly Zoom call with each other. Is this a conversation happening amongst the group? Because at this point, at least with the strike in Calvert County, I would have to assume that there's not much stopping drivers in Calvert County from driving a few more miles and looking for a job as a driver in Anne Arundel County. Yeah, if this wage increase is passed.
Yeah, we have spoken about this among the county executives, and we will continue to do so. But apart from, it doesn't take a strike to create pressure. I think we would be where we are. Maybe we moved a little quicker when the strike happened, because we saw that we could actually lose a lot of employees, whether it's because the company fires them or because they don't come to work. That could make the situation even worse. And so it's like when you have a leaky roof, you fix it, and you fix it before you do anything else in your house, because it's urgent. So, but the companies were not able to meet the terms of their contracts, regardless of whether their workers were striking, and that's happening elsewhere. So the urgency is the same, whether it's a strike or just not fulfilling the terms of the contract and getting the buses out.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right. Next up, Rachael Pacella, The Capitol.
Hi, yeah. Thanks very much. I was wondering, actually, if I could hear a little bit more about the grants for the Department of Public Works. From what I understood, it sounds like it's some money that the county's receiving because it's going above and beyond in its wastewater treatment. And if that is the case, I guess, does that free up some room to allow the county to invest in things like stormwater management and other, I guess, sort of more fine scale, pollution reduction measures?
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, Rachel, thanks for the question. This is Chris Phipps, again, Director of Public Works. So the water and wastewater system operates as an enterprise fund. So it is a self-supporting fund all on its own. It doesn't receive tax funding. It doesn't receive funding from the watershed fund. So it is self-isolated from that. But certainly it is supplementing and augmenting what we're doing on the stormwater side, because together, all the stormwater improvements we're making and the pollution reduction we get from that goes hand in hand with the pollution reductions we're getting through the wastewater side, so that together they meet our ultimate TMDL requirement for the state. So they work hand in hand, but independently, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
All right, Rob Lang, WBAL Radio.
Good morning. Is Bob Mosher on the call this morning? He is not.
He is not, Rob.
He is not. Okay, then I'll direct a question to County Executive Pittman, and forgive me, we're having some technical glitches at the beginning here. I understand that the disaster declaration or disaster aid request rejected on the federal level. What, County Executive Pittman, I heard Mayor Buckley's comments. What is Anne Arundel County's next step?
Well, the initial news was that we sent a letter to the governor yesterday requesting that he make this declaration. The letter from FEMA specifically said that they believed that the storm was not of such severity and magnitude as to be beyond the capabilities of the state infected local governments. We have to show that we're taking all possible action and using the resources that we have at the state level. And the first step in doing that is declaring this state of emergency, so that we can use, as our state law allows, use the Volt loans as grants in a disaster to the impacted businesses. Can't be done without a state or federal declaration, and that we can activate our Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development assistance to homeowners. Can't be done without that state declaration. So that request was made initially on September 21st, but now that we've gotten a no from the feds, we have no other recourse, either an appeal of that, which is a long process, or declaring the state declaration, and that's what we asked in our letter dated yesterday to the governor to do.
What's the dollar estimate on damage from Anne Arundel County?
I have numbers of homes. Let's see. Let me get back to you on that. The economic development has access to $1 million in this Volt money and wants to do $50,000 at least grants to businesses to help them get started. And the over 100 homes in the county. I'll let the mayor speak on the city's numbers. Most of the businesses are in the city that have been impacted, but it's really a question of opening up these sources of funds that are state sources, and we think it needs to happen, and it needs to happen quickly. It's been well over a month.
Fair enough. Okay, thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. That will wrap us up for the week. See you all next week.